A community conversation surrounding mental health following the death of Patrick Lyoya will be held tonight at Ottawa Hills High School from 6 to 8 p.m. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Laster here from the Wood TV live desk. Joining me this morning, 3rd Ward Grand Rapids City Commissioner Senita Lenear to share more on tonight's conversation. Commissioner, good morning.
Morning, Luke. Thanks for having me.
So if you could, just to get us rolling here, could you tell me about this idea and how the community conversation here came together?
Well, we held a meeting, as you know, on Tuesday, the City Commission, and Commissioner Moody and I expressed that we were desiring to have conversations with the community. And as a result, the Black Impact Collaborative has taken the charge to assemble a group of panelists as well as secured partnerships in order to have a community conversation surrounding the death of Patrick Lyoya. And, as we continue this conversation, I'd like to just pause for a moment to just share my condolences for the Lyoya family, to Patrick's children and his parents, his siblings, and those who knew him dear and loved him most. I am sincerely sorry that you are experiencing this loss. And to the community, I know that this loss is personal, and many of us are grieving in a lot of different ways. And sometimes we're not sure how to process trauma, which actually comes from these types of instances and watching graphic videos and things like that. And so in response to that, we are happy, Commissioner Moody and I are happy to participate in this forum.
It sounds like there's multiple groups involved here as well. If you could tell me about who else kind of has involvement here in having this come together.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the mental health clinicians of color in Grand Rapids. They will be providing, it's a 2-hour conversation. If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of do it in segments. So I'll start kind of with the beginning of what people should expect, and then the second hour. Is that okay to do it that way, Luke?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So the first hour is pretty much the opportunity for the community to engage. And so those who will be speaking no more than 3 minutes will be Commissioner Nathaniel Moody, who's also my colleague in the 3rd Ward, City Attorney Anita Hitchcock, and Nadia Brigham of Brigham Consulting. She's also the representative of the Black Impact Collaborative. Chief Larry Johnson of the Grand Rapids Public Schools, Frida Kanini of A Glimpse of Africa, Dr. Lennox Forrest, Faith Counseling Services, and then myself. And so what the first hour will just be about kind of talking about how Patrick's death is impacting our community in different ways. And so, we thought it would be important to provide context for those who are there. And so that's part of why City Attorney Anita Hitchcock will be present to just talk about next steps. So there was a press conference yesterday that kind of talked to that, but that was to the press. This will be to the community, just saying, here what the facts are and here are the next steps so that the community can be aware. Nadia Brigham will put context around racial equity and the death of Patrick Lyoya. And then Larry Johnson will be providing kind of this community-wide safety and youth support perspective. And Frida from A Glimpse of Africa will talk about the African and African-American communities today and beyond, and how connecting is going to be extremely important and valuable. And Dr. Lennox Forrest will be from Faith Counseling Services, will be speaking about the importance of processing trauma during this time and for the times that are to come. And so that's the first hour. And after those brief presentations from those who are speaking, then the floor will be open so that the community can ask some specific questions of those on the panel. After the Q&A, that's the first hour, and then the second hour will be the opportunity for people to kind of talk in smaller groups with clinicians from the mental health clinicians of color in Grand Rapids. They will be facilitating some discussions surrounding how to process the death of Patrick Lyoya and some of the trauma that community members have experienced in our city, and real experiences that need to be discussed and need to be processed. And so when trauma arrives, if it isn't processed appropriately, then sometimes the outcomes can be physical challenges, and mental challenges for you physically and personally. And so we think it's important to be able to have the opportunity to process that and have the tools to do so. And then I'll end with the last group that's participating is Cherry Health Services. They will be on hand providing screenings. Again, because trauma shows up in a lot of different ways. So, people's blood pressure may go up. And so they'll be there providing health screenings if anyone wants to just be screened so that they can know if they should be, concerned about anything going on in their bodies.
Hosting something like this, in your view, why is having this important during a time of difficulty such as the community is facing right now?
Well, I think because we're all collectively going through something at the very same time. And as a result, we should collectively come together to address it. And so this is one of hopefully not the only community conversation, because this incident and the death of Patrick Lyoya is ongoing. So we had the initial concerns, and then we have a press conference yesterday where the videos were published. Then we have future public steps in this process that will continue to trigger some of the trauma that we're experiencing. And so it's important to be able to come together as a community, especially because many Black and Brown families are experiencing some of the same issues. And that's one of the reasons I think it's important.
What are you hoping comes from tonight moving forward here?
That's a good question, Luke. I think I'm hoping that one, we'll have the tools to be able to keep ourselves healthy. The other is that I'm hoping that we will hear some things that helps us to know how to create policy changes in our great city, who today is experiencing what I would consider its darkest day, and certainly one of its darkest days. And excuse me. And so I'm hopeful that we will be able to allow this to be an opportunity to be better, so that we can be a great city for every single citizen who resides here and visits here. And I'm hoping that through conversations, real meaningful, passion-filled conversations, we can do that.
You mentioned it and described it a little bit, but if you could expand a little more on having those mental health professionals on site for tonight and what they'll be offering.
Yes, so the mental health clinicians of color in Grand Rapids will be there to kind of facilitate processing trauma. And I'm no clinician, so I can't really speak to exactly what tools they'll be providing and how that will work. But I know that what the goal will be is to try and bring the larger audience into smaller segments to try and have some meaningful conversations that are that can get to the root of what we're all experiencing and how we can take our next steps, because that's the thing, it isn't over. And but we have to get to the next day and the next day. And so that's what I'm looking to that's my best way of describing what I believe they'll be offering.
Is registration required for tonight?
No, there is no registration required. The Ottawa Hills Auditorium, I believe it seats 400 or 500. You know, I don't know how many to expect at the community conversation tonight, but we're hopeful that that people will feel comfortable coming out and having some conversations about healing.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, that's at Ottawa Hills High School from 6 to 8 tonight. Commissioner, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I would just end with these are really challenging times. We are still in a pandemic, and isolation has been a part of that. And on the other side of the pandemic, we have had, there are a number of studies who have revealed the mental impact on our nation and probably the world in light of COVID. And so now here we are at a point locally, because we know that there have been a number of Black bodies that have been, lying on the streets of America for years and decades. But even in the last few years, I think there's been heightened awareness of the plight of the Black body in this nation. And now we are here in Grand Rapids, and we've protested for a number of those national incidents. And now we're here in the city of Grand Rapids, and right here in the streets of our city lies another Black body. And so, people are hurting right now, Luke, and rightfully so. I am one of them. Parents are worried for their children, and spouses are worried for their spouses, and the list goes on and on. And I don't have all of the answers. And I think it's going to take all of us coming together to be able to, again, take one step forward and just keep trying to take a step forward so that we can come on the other side of this better. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in maybe halfway through this stream or just now clicking in, there's a link attached to this. It'll take you over to woodtv.com, and you'll be able to see our stream in full there. Commissioner, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a look at the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm News 8 digital anchor Luke Laster. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you around.